Hello Nordange students and welcome to lesson 5 of our tutorials on programming using Visual Basic. In this tutorial we're going to look at other methods of input and output. We're going to explore these methods. So let's have a look at Visual Basic. So on opening Visual Studio 2022 we need to create a new project and we're going to name this. We're going to then select Windows Form App and then Next. We'll name it Other Methods of Input and Output. Make sure you choose your documents and the folder you would like to save it to. And then you then go Next and Create. And now it's going to set it all up. What we're going to do is we're going to write a program that allows the user to input a number and outputs its square. For example, if we input 7, the output will be 49. If we input 4, the output will be 4 times 4, which will be 16. So let us commence. We just got to wait for the for it to load. So we've now got this open. In this form, let's just change the form name to FRM squares, and we'll put the text down the bottom to squares, like so. Then we need to then add a button. So just drag a button in. And then we're going to add a text box into here as well. So we're going to drag a text box. There we are. Onto here. Okay, so we've got a text box and a button. I can then select this. If I actually highlight these, and I can go up here, I can actually align, I can maybe center it, I can align it to the left, so they're all straight line, or aligned to the right. And then I can move this like there. Let's just add a name for the button. So the button, for example, will be BTN input. And we're just going to add our text down here as input number. Our answer here will just be, it's going to be a text box, so it'll be TXT. And we will call this message, like so. So this is our window already created. Now we need to add the code. So I double click on my button and we open up our code. And we have the sub for the button here. So within here, I need to add some code. So the first thing we need to do is, of course, declare our variables. And if you remember, our variables are what stores items. So in this case, we'll be storing the answer and, of course, the number that we enter. So we need to create a variable using dim, which is declaring, and the variable will be num, and we want to store this as an integer. And then we want a message to appear back to the user, and so we're going to have dim answer, so that's going to, and then we're going to say as, and we're going to say this is a string, so it's going to be a text format this time. The next part is we want to open the input box and assign a value to the variable. So this part we need to basically call our num variable and we need to assign a value to it. So we're going to have input. And if I try input box, we've got it already here. So we can put this here even tells us in long what we need to do. So just input box, open bracket, and it will close it. And we just ask the message, please enter a number. Like so. And we're going to, next part, we're going to just give this a name as well. So we're going to call the window input window, like so. So the first part is what the message will appear. The second part in speech marks is the name of that window. And then once we've pressed OK, I want it to then, the answer will then store the message that will appear to the user. So in this case, we're going to actually do this as a string, so it's going to be text. It'll say the square of, and then we need to join this together. So we need to say the square of, and so I use the add plus symbol to join something together. So I'm going to say, I want to say the square of num, so the square of the contents of the variable num. Okay. Plus, and then we'll do is, like that. Again, we'll do this again. Num times num, like so. And we like that. So it should store this value. And then we want to display this back. So we want to display the message back to the user, and we want to display it in that text message, the text box that I created. So txt message there, and we say dot text, and we'll say we want to basically display the contents of answer. So if I run this, it's probably going to come up with an error first of all, because I need to change the name of this form. Let's just click. It's got an error, so I'm going to enter. Change this to the name there. Oops. F, and that error is gone. So let's play it again. And then hopefully we should see this working. So it loads up, input. It's going to, so this works. So when I press on that button, a window opens with the title input window. It asks me for a number, so I press 7. I then press OK, and we seem to have an error here. So let's just read what the error says, because this is very useful, and it's even highlighted the line that the error is on, which of course is where we're trying to join the message that will appear to the user. So the square of the num is, and of course num times num, the contents of num times num. It says here, invalid cast exception, conversion from string to type double is not valid. So this is about a problem in terms of the data type. It is not allowing something here. And the reason is I'm trying to combine a string with a number in this data type. And of course it thinks because these are numbers that this should be a number as well in order to do a calculation. But of course we want to add the number to it. So I need to convert the num variable now to string. So I need to say dot after num and say to string. So I'm converting it to a string. Same with this here. After it's done its calculation, then I want to convert it to string, like so. So if I continue, click stop, there we are, I'll stop that there. Play again, let's see if this works. Loaded it up, which was exactly the same as before, so I put 7. And this time it comes up the answer. It says the square of 7 is 49. Okay, so again, you've got to make sure that if you're mixing numbers and strings in a when you're joining them together, you need to convert the integer to a string, like so. I'm going to close that. We're going to go back to where it was there. Obviously, strings can be added together, but sometimes, of course, you need to turn a number into a string first. That's why you have to use the num.toString in the message. If a line of code is too long, place a space and a character at the end of the line and continue to the next. So, for example, if it's going too long, I can press, let's say I press space and this, I could then go on to the new line like that and it will work. So if, let's say, you want to, if the line's too long and you want to go to the new line, just put this underscore and then you can then press enter and you can then carry on a new line and it will think this is part of the same line of code. So there we have one way of doing input there and output. Let's show you how you can use a message box. And so I'm going to, let's just new and project. And again, we're going to do a Windows Form app. And we're going to call this btn output. And we'll go next and create. Okay, we're going to save it because we've already got one open. So it's asking us, can we save the other one? So we will. And what we want to do is, again, we just want to create a button on a page like so. And we can even have this bigger like so. We can have a big button. And we'll call this btn output. Like so. And I will go to the text and I'll put output here. Press enter. So that'll appear. Maybe on my form, I'm going to have, for example, FRM output, for example, and then for the text part, again, we'll just have keep smiling. Okay, and it will appear. Now we need to add some code onto this, so I'm going to double click on the output, and we're going to add a message box. And all I'm going to do here is just put in here, keep smiling. Like so. And if I ran this now, I'm going to save this, copy that output because an error will appear. So if I run this now, it's coming up with an error. What's wrong with it? It's because the name of the form is different. So I'm going to change it. Press it again. We should now see it. Press output. It will show keep smiling, which is great. Let's change the code a bit. So we've got a message that just shows keep smiling. Let's try and change the subroutine. So this subroutine, let's change it to a question. So I can say here, Are you still smiling? And then comma MSG, and it will give me a load of options here. And we want the style, and I put a dot, and I can choose different types of box here. So I want a question, for example, so we look for a question down here. And I'm going to just put a title to this. So I'm going to say output demo. And if I run this, it will show me, and I can say output, are you still smiling? I press OK. What other ones have I got? Let's have a look. So if I say dot, are there others? We've got retry if I want. Let's have a look. Press again, are you still smiling? I've got retry or cancel. So I can change the type I have on there. Thank you very much for watching, and look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.